Imagine standing in your backyard, tools in hand, ready to tackle your next DIY project. You've watched the tutorials, gathered your materials, and are feeling proud of your independence. It feels like you're doing it all yourself, creating something from nothing. But here's a thought. Where did all those tools come from? Who taught you those skills? Even in the most independent-seeming DIY projects, you're still leaning on a web of industries, systems, and shared knowledge. So, are you really self-sufficient, or just relying on something much bigger? Let's dive into the paradox of doing it yourself. No DIY project happens without tools. Whether it's a hammer, a wrench, or a power drill, these items are indispensable. But before you get to work, stop and think for a moment. Where do these tools actually come from? The answer is simple. They're mass-produced. Your hammer, your drill, your entire toolkit. All these tools were crafted in factories, using advanced technologies and supply chains that you have no direct involvement with. Even the simplest DIY projects rely on the complex systems of industry. To build, repair, or even maintain your home, you're leaning heavily on the work of others. Now, take a look at the materials you're using. Whether it's wood, metal, fabric, or paint, all of these materials are products of industrial processes. Lumber comes from massive sawmills, nails from factories, and electrical wiring is made through highly specialized processes that would be near impossible to replicate on your own. The materials that seem so basic to your project are, in fact, part of a vast global supply chain. The idea of sourcing all of your materials locally or making them yourself is just not realistic, even if you have the skills to do so. You could try growing your own wood, mining your own metal, or weaving your own fabric, but that would take years, and you'd still need the tools and knowledge to work with them. So, every material you use is essentially a product of other people's work, knowledge, and systems. DIY doesn't eliminate reliance on the system, it simply shifts where that reliance is placed. Then there's the knowledge. Even the most experienced DIYers didn't invent the skills they use. They learned them from somewhere. Whether it's YouTube tutorials, online articles, step-by-step manuals, or advice from mentors, every DIY project depends on shared knowledge. Many of the skills involved in DIY, like woodworking, plumbing, or electrical work, were honed over centuries. These skills are passed down through generations, and even if you're building a table from scratch, it's built on the foundation of knowledge and techniques others have perfected over time. DIY is not a solo act. It's part of a collaborative tradition where you're using the wisdom of others to create something of your own. So, if DIY isn't truly independent, what's the value? The answer lies in how you transform your reliance into something empowering. When you take on a DIY project, you're taking ownership of the process. Even though the tools and materials come from someone else, you're the one calling the shots on how the work gets done. That's one of the great appeals of DIY, control over the labor and the process. There's a unique satisfaction in completing a project with your own two hands. It's not just about the finished product, but the pride in knowing you did it yourself. DIY also offers personal empowerment. Even if you had to rely on the knowledge of others, there's a deep sense of accomplishment in completing something from start to finish. Whether it's building a bookshelf or fixing a leaky faucet, doing it yourself gives you confidence and a sense of capability. And while it's true that some projects are more about the process than the savings, there are practical savings involved as well. While not always cheaper, DIY can reduce the cost of labor by handling tasks like home repairs or minor construction yourself. However, there are times when DIY just doesn't make sense. When tasks are highly specialized, it's best to call in the professionals. Projects like major electrical work or structural repairs require knowledge and skills that most DIYers don't have. Hiring an expert ensures the job is done safely and correctly. Additionally, when you're up against time constraints, mass-produced solutions or professional services can be far more efficient. For example, if you need a shed, it's probably faster to buy a pre-assembled one than spend weeks building it yourself. Cost inefficiency also plays a role. When the cost of tools and materials exceeds the price of buying a finished product, DIY might actually cost more. Certain items, like vehicles, electronics, and precision tools, require expert manufacturing capabilities and the resources of large-scale production, making DIY simply impractical. Another way to approach the DIY paradox is by modifying pre-made solutions. Instead of starting entirely from scratch, why not buy something already made and customize it to your needs? This hybrid approach can save you time, money, and effort, while still offering room for customization. For example, you could take a pre-built shed and turn it into a tiny home, or you could buy some standard furniture and modify it to match your style. Another option is to focus on enhancing or repairing existing items. Reupholstering an old chair or repainting furniture can be much easier and cheaper than building something new from raw materials. Repurposing materials is another smart strategy. You could use wood from old pallets to build new planters, saving both money and waste. So, is building from scratch always worth it? In many cases, it's not. While the process of doing it yourself can be immensely rewarding, it doesn't always make sense from a financial or time efficiency standpoint. However, for those projects where customization is essential, where learning is the goal, or where you find joy in the process, DIY can be a deeply fulfilling experience. The key is to strike a balance. Understand when it makes sense to rely on mass-produced solutions or professional services, and when it's the right time to roll up your sleeves and dive in. Before starting a DIY project, ask yourself, is this something I really need to do from scratch? Or can I modify, repair, or buy something pre-made that will save me time, money, and stress? By making smart choices, you can enjoy the satisfaction of creating while avoiding the headaches of unnecessary effort. Ultimately, it's about understanding the value of both creation and convenience and knowing when to combine the two. If you're looking to start a project, take these insights into account. Weigh your options and embrace the best of both worlds: creativity and efficiency.